Kalyn, welcome, mate. Boys were just talking about, mates. We've got you here because you've just gone to Manly and signed a contract 2035 through to 2040. Just signing ahead, just out of the deadline.
Just getting ahead.
How you keeping, mate?
I'm going well. Spent some time in your neck of the woods, which is nice.
Yeah, it is.
It is nice. It's nice to be a bit closer to you in some ways, but it's. I think I've been off for 4 weeks now. It's been good. It's
funny, we have people here in interviews, and one of the things that is synonymous is they've all had a big night out with Cooper. We had Nathan Cleary, where you stumbled in and saw sweet Ivan naked.
I did.
Yeah,
I saw Ivan's piece, so to speak.
So what about Kalyn? Have you seen Andre's?
Have you seen
Andre's dick yet?
Oh, well, sorry.
I haven't seen Andre's. Certainly seen Kalyn's. No, but we have had a fair few nights together, Kate.
Yeah, I got stuck. And I hope you take that in the best way possible. I got stuck with you probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. Had a great time. Had a really good night, wasn't it?
It was fun.
It was fun. Something happened that night. I'm not too sure what it was, but something. I think something happened.
Between
something
us,
clicked. Yeah,
it did. We've had a lot of nights before out together, but it's never really just been me and you.
Yeah, it was.
Whereas this night, it kind of was just.
So you usually have to share Kalyn around, but it's just you one on one.
No.
We've usually been in a big group.
It was a good day. It was a really good day.
Where'd you just go?
The local.
Yeah, we just went down to the local, mate. You're local.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Collaroy?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, you've been every day the last 6 weeks.
Careful. I was like, when you sit up there before, we were upstairs talking about Kalyn goes, yeah, I saw you yesterday, just standing outside the Collaroy. I thought, alert, careful, the boss is listening.
Did she not know you went down?
She worked it out. When she looked at the bank account, I took money out.
Yeah, I thought so.
I was just giving it to charity. I wasn't playing pokies.
Was that her name, Charity?
Oh, mate. Well, we might as well wind it up. We can't get any better than that.
Yeah, brilliant. Hey, Kalyn, before we get into your career, mate, I wanted to bring up, this isn't your first podcast experience because you, Connor Watson and Matty Croker used to do a podcast of your own. Matthew, I don't know if you listened to it, 257 Collective.
We did.
I listened to a couple of eps.
This is a while ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been COVID.
3 years ago, 4 years ago we started, which was sort of before the trend, which I see you've jumped on.
Yeah, we're all over it, don't worry. Anywhere you can make $1, we're right up a drain. We're rats up a drain pipe.
We did have a podcast that went well. I don't know. I don't think we got this far in terms of episodes. We might have only done 30 or so together.
Yeah.
But once a week, so.
You had Jack on at one stage, Jack Johns.
Jack provided some great content, to be honest. The fans loved him.
Yeah. Because he's quite quirky, his sense of humour, isn't it? You had him up there at the nights.
We did, yes. Yeah, we did. We were there for a few years. We've had a few good times together. A few trips away. Some awkward moments, obviously, Jack.
Yeah.
We all know what he's like.
But people always say to me, the boys up there, Jack's hilarious. We miss him. I go, what?
We do.
He must save all the good jokes for when he's out of the house.
No, we have had some good times away and whatnot. But, slowly boys are just moving away. Connor's left. Jack's left.
Yeah. Lucky Matty Croker's now staying.
Matty Croker's staying, which is a big one.
Croker. Good to see, mate.
Yeah, he works hard for what he gets, so it's good to have him here.
My favourite, and this is something that'll never see the light of day when I'm about to bring up, but my favourite thing ever, because you guys had a little, a little rat pack, you, Connor, Jack, Croaks, Tex when he was up there, Chrissy Randall, Starlo,
early days.
But there was Curtis Dark. There was a video of a certain music video that these boys... you guys created a music video one. They wrote a song and then created a music video of...
Have you got the video of that? Is that still floating around, Jack? Do you have that?
Jack's deleted it.
Yeah.
Heavy delete.
Yeah.
We all had to freestyle, I think. We all had to come up with our own freestyle. So we all went to our rooms or areas of the house, sat there, wrote down just a little verse or whatever and come back, and then we created I forgot about that.
It's so funny. I remember Jack used to have it on his phone, so I used to watch it all the time. It was I don't know whether you guys thought it was like going to be a real music video or what, but they were taking it real serious.
Well, it's got a history of sporting teams doing this. Of course, there used to be a tradition with the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl teams would get on and literally do a song and a music video, and it would chart really high in the States. There was ones like the LA Raid when they were the LA Raiders, Silver and Black Attack. There's some horrible ones. But the Broncos, when the Broncos won their first comp, Alfie and Kevy and Kerrod Walters brought out song "Hey Hey" with the Broncos. That's number one And the other one, of course, Craig Johnston, Newcastle boy, when he played for Liverpool. When they won the title one year, he wrote a song called the Anfield Rap, #1 in the UK. So boys, yeah,
Who are you talking to?
just something to think about. Kalyn,
It's better than Lego. Was that the start of a song, a verse? Was that a band? What?
better than
It
Kalyn.
could be more than what.
It could be.
Is-
It could be.
Were you drunk in that?
Yeah, sort of. Mate, Kalyn, season's end. You get a chance to have a physical rest, but probably more a mental rest. I imagine for guys, elite guys in your position, not a week goes by you'll be getting critiqued one way or another. You know, it must be nice at the end of the year just to let it all go.
Yeah, the first 4 weeks of the off season, I do that. I sort of. I haven't been trained. I didn't train much, for the last 4 weeks, which is different for me. But I went over to Bali and didn't buy a SIM card on purpose so that I didn't have to use my phone a lot.
Good call.
Kind of just didn't have my phone for 10 days, which was nice, and just disconnect, get away from all the noise that is in Australia at times. But you can't rest for too long. Like the way the game is now, you want to get back to pre-season and be in good nick. But it is good to have this time off to it is more mental than physical. Like pre-season's, it's not long, but you're going to get fit by the time you get back to, round one. It's more about the mental.
I don't want you to comment on this, but I've just got a suggestion for you, righto? You're too honest, mate, sometimes. Like, saying, I want to get over my injuries, that thing at the end of the year with you and Mal. Because let me tell you, it was nothing new. When we used to go into camp sometimes, particularly the end of the year, and there'd be a lot of blokes, experienced blokes, who get there. I remember once in '99 we were about to go to New Zealand for a tour. Billy Johnston, mate, trained the legs off us. 5 guys at the end of the training session had tweaked hamstrings, sore knees, calves.
I went home.
Ankles, and just said, I can't go on the tour.
Yeah.
They pulled out.
Really? But
End of the
I
year.
have no shadow. There's no doubt as well. Some of the blokes that didn't get selected this year in the Australian team had a similar thing where they said, "Oh, I've got a couple of niggles. I can't play." So
what we're saying here, Kalyn, next time, mate, don't be so honest. You just need a little bit of rat cunning about yourself.
And
mate.
another thing we're saying is, we got your back.
Thanks,
All right?
mate.
Yeah, we got big time.
I got your back.
Big time. Don't worry.
Calves a bit.
You're after, yeah, I know.
Nah.
They have excellent calves.
That was an interesting process, that whole thing.
Yeah, I imagine. Kalyn.
But Bali was good. Put my phone away, and
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like, I had to get away from everything that was going on. That's why I went away. So now that I'm back, like I'm back into routine, back into training. Still enjoying my weekends. I've got Browser's wedding, which is something to look forward to. Love wins.
Jaden, love does win. At the end of the day, it always wins.
Sure.
It usually conquers all.
Waiting for me to hit the finish line. Feeding and punishing.
But Jaden Bradley, one of the great blokes as well,
Yeah,
isn't he?
so that's
She's a
something to
lucky
look
girl.
forward to. But we go back to training in 4.5 weeks. So
Yeah, right.
Jeez, that comes around quick.
I know.
Feels like he's just finished.
Well, before there was the RPA, you're at the mercy. You're totally at the mercy of the club. There were sometimes we had 2 weeks break and they want you back
That's
in.
crazy.
Yeah,
I think we
Makes
get
you-
9. We get 9. Oh,
You're talking to two blokes who are no longer getting any time off.
but you got plenty of time off.
Yeah.
Excuse me, mate. I've worked year round. I haven't had any time off. Full stop. My weekends are the only time I get off, and it's not. I'm basically working myself down
You
to the bone.
spend you spend your weekends like a vacation.
Yeah.
Like
Hey, get off is the right word.
Yeah.
Hey, Kalyn, you grew up in. You born in Perth.
WA, yeah.
WA.
Port Hedland.
Yep. So just somebody. So then at 2 years old, 2 years of age, you go to Mount Isa. Then off to Palmerston North in the Wainui region. Geez, some good footballers around there.
Palmerston, is that Unitown, Palmerston North?
It is,
I think
yeah.
I played there. I went out there one night after we played the Warriors.
It's small. It doesn't have much there.
It's good nightlife
great.
though.
Yeah,
like because it's a uni town, they have big uni nights there, and it's a good night out.
Played one of the
you
best
can
games of
find a
my
good
life.
night out anyway, mate. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, that is true. If there's a pub, there was karaoke when me and Brenko Lee, and
What a combination! What a
just
wonderful combination,
me-
He's got some
mate.
interesting.
honest.
Yeah.
me, Brenko Lee, and Justin Olam, we were all allowed to have a beer, but we weren't allowed to leave the hotel, and we were the last 3 blokes drinking in the team room, and the security guards kind of like the that was sort of hanging around went to sleep. So then we went down to this uni pub, and it was phenomenal. One of the greatest nights.
I got stranded in Palmerston North when I was a fringe player, young player coming through. Wait for this, and they took me away, and I wasn't going to get a game. And all of a sudden, one of the halves hurt himself in the warm up, so they put me on the bench, and then the captain Michael Hagan dislocated his elbow, so I went on. Guys went on in half a game of football, man of the match.
Wow!
It was, and after that, we're about to leave, and the airline who we flew over there with flew into Wellington with. We're going to fly out. They went into administration, Ansett Airlines. So we were actually trapped in New Zealand, couldn't get back, and after about a day or two, the coach of the Balmain Tigers, Alan Jones, was a breakfast radio announcer here. He rang Paul Keating, the Prime Minister, and said, if I'm not back for my radio shift, I'm going to unload on you. So they chartered a flight for us to, government chartered a flight for us to get back.
That's power.
That is power.
Hey,
You're welcome.
Growing up in New Zealand,
I couldn't do that.
No, you couldn't. Your Māori heritage, because you are a proud Queenslander and Australian, but how connected are you to your Māori heritage?
Yeah, I think as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate how much of me is Māori in New Zealand. I think being born in Australia and also living over here for so long, and in Queensland, in terms of my sporting career, it's always been Queensland. But who I am as a person comes from my parents and my family and my culture and their values and beliefs. I'm probably not as close or as connected to my culture as I'd like to be. My little sister's definitely, I reckon, more connected, and she loves it, and she's always back home for different reasons with Dad, whether it be like he's recruiting or seeing family, which is nice for her. But I'm probably not as connected as I want to be, but I do acknowledge that who I am is because of my culture.
It's funny, a lot of the current NRL crop that I've sort of played with, Jerome Hughes and Brandon Smith are a really good example. When they go and they're similar in the sense as they get older, they probably get way more connected to it, particularly going and playing for Māori All-Stars.
Yeah.
They always come back and they're really connected to their culture.
It just reminds you. Those camps are crazy. As it is a lot about the Indigenous side, which is, obviously beautiful. But yeah, being in that camp, being around, it just feels like you're being around cousins and uncles. And I haven't had that for a couple of years. I've sort of stayed away from the All-Star game, but I want to get more connected, obviously.
Well, the All Blacks, not always had a great connection to Māori culture. If you go watch the All Blacks in the 70s through to into the mid-80s, I think, have a look at the haka. The haka is nothing compared to what it is. They looked reluctant doing it, and it wasn't until Buck Shelford came in, who's a proud Māori man, and went in and said, hey guys, a bit of respect. If we're going to do the haka, then let's do the haka. And that's where straight away everything changed. Standing opposite, we play New Zealand, standing opposite the haka, for me was more, I was going to say not flattering, but it was almost more awe-inspiring than intimidating. To stand across and go, man, this is something I've watched on TV, now it's happening.
Yeah.
And I played one of the All-Star games, it was against Connor, and just happened to be that the way it worked out was he was exactly opposite me, directly opposite me, and I don't think he's ever seen me do the haka before, nor has most people, to be honest. And to be standing, I didn't smile, but because obviously you're not smiling, but I could just see that look in his eyes as to say no, I'm not very good at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Well, there are some people who, it's very much that, it's intimidating standing across and they're doing it. There's, for another example, Jack Howarth at Melbourne. He played in he was in the the Kiwis, young Kiwi squad this year, and there was a video of one of the Kiwi boys filming him, and they were trying to teach him the haka because he didn't really know it, and he's also very awkward with it. It doesn't come naturally for him, and it was there is a lot of people where you can watch the haka and go, he's he's not good at doing that. Yeah, Jason Nightingale.
Back in the day, I'll stand at the back, you know what I mean? But when you're doing it, it is pretty inspiring. And then you have people like Leo Thompson who does it when obviously Fish and players like that.
Yeah,
But
it's
Well,
scary.
the Wallabies for years
I
didn't
stand behind
know.
them, bro.
A
I
lot of
stand right behind them.
Just like you're doing again.
lot of the rugby union nations, when they were playing the All Blacks, didn't actually know what to do with themselves when it used to take place. In fact, in one embarrassing period, when they were doing the haka in New Zealand once, I think it was at Eden Park, the Wallabies went down the other end of the field and started warming up. And they were trying to show, like, hey, we're not intimidated. You're going, guys, if you got your back turned to the haka, I'm pretty sure you've given away the fact you are. If you weren't intimidated, you stand your ground.
Yeah, you see more in the union, different teams do different things over the years.
Yeah.
Like the way if they push forward or they stand back, or it's just things like that.
So you get that 13 years of age, the family moved tough Queensland mining town, Mackay. So, like, Kalyn, lots of moving around, lots of saying goodbye to good friends. Was that difficult? New schools, was that all difficult?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not at that age. I think obviously sports being the thing that's connected me to people. It always has, always will. Obviously it's
Well, I
big part of
imagine
my
when you walk
DNA.
into the schoolyard, people measure young males on how good they are at sport. Suddenly someone throws you a football, they'll say, that's my best mate. Yeah.
We're friends. It's easy to make friends.
It is, yeah, when you're good at sport, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
that
that's what I
age.
mean. I was a sporty kid. You make connections through that. Always had my family there as well. Like, I wasn't someone that boarded and had to leave my family. I always had that support. So, I was never really a struggle, and I've carried that on into, like, obviously as you get older.
Kalyn, there's certain sports people that are just born with something special, right? Whatever they've got can't be nurtured, and you're one of those, right? So you see Maradona as a young child. He was found on documentary doing these skills. Wayne Gretzky, I interviewed him on Triple M once. He was saying from a young boy he was known as the Great One, and people would travel like hundreds of miles to watch this young kid play ice hockey. Joey, look, you talk Maradona, Gretzky, but it sounds weird talking about Joey. But people would come to watch Joey play as a young kid at Cessnock, and Joey would get the worst player in his side, put him at the other end of the field in the in goal, and say, "I'll bring the ball to you." There's certain people you just know yourself. Like, was that you, Kalyn? Like, and you're a modest guy, but seriously. But were you a kid that people looked and went, "Okay, that guy"? I mean, your hesitation tells me yes.
I think so. I think definitely in rugby league and Mackay, in juniors coming through there. Like I remember when I would have been like 14, and I met Tommy Dearden and his other brother who's around the same age, and they were like 11 at the time or something like that. And he used to watch me when I was like that age. So like that's the sort of crazy sort of thing, but. Yeah, I guess so. In a way, like I always had the talent. I was always sort of, not projected, but if I didn't make it, then it would have been like, what's going on here? But it's hard for me to say that people would come to the game to watch.
Well, I heard
me.
about you when you were a young fella. I was told someone told Andrew, and Joey in turn told me. Said there's a young Maori kid who's coming through the grades. He's ginger. Apparently, he's unbelievable.
Wrong kid.
He's not anymore, mate.
You're the where's he from? What's he doing these days? Where's
That
he
was
at?
Brad. He was talking about Brad Parker.
Oh, sorry, I was. Hank Scorpio.
No, but in all seriousness, because me and you I think you're a year older than me, Kate, but when I remember your churchy highlights, like,
Yeah, that
they're,
was-
you know what I mean? Like, when that churchy highlights video came out, you were playing first 15 up there. I think Jaden Sewer and Brody Croft.
Yeah.
Crofty was in the
It
side
so
as
weird.
well.
Because I spoke to Crofty, he said, I played with KP. I went, oh, yeah, what did you play halfback? He goes, no, I played wing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
in your
that team.
highlights, you flick past into this nuggly little winger.
Yeah, but like that highlights package
Yeah.
was getting sent around all like Queensland, Sydney in terms of union players and league players. Everybody had seen that package. Like, that must have been weird where you're a 16-year-old kid, but you're almost famous in your own age group for your schoolboy highlights.
That was a weird time. I remember it got sent to me. I'll be honest, I watched it like 4 or 5 times. Just
Before every game.
Just straight on repeat. But it was sort of, I think the people around me did a good job of obviously keeping me like humble, modest, and not reading into it too much. I think my coach at the time at Churchy did a good job of sort of, I guess, humbling me and not buying into it, because I think it came out maybe 2 games left in the season, and we were, if you look at our year that year, it wasn't a historic year. I think we were almost missed out, but in terms of like how much we were winning by, we won I think we won every game. There was one game we won by like 60. So we were a pretty dominant team. And then, that was probably my first intro into what media is like, and how dealing with people's opinions or dealing with a little bit of spotlight. And to have that at 16 years of age or 15 was probably a blessing in disguise.
It can be tricky to have that sort of talent at a school where rugby and sport is so revered. Like it's
prestigious there.
Yeah, like
you feel like you've made it.
I was going to ask you, because what you see a lot of times with rugby union is the very best rugby union kids, when Joey's and traditionally a lot of them don't go through and they become top liners because there's too much pressure on them at high school.
Church is the same as was it like Scott's down here?
Yeah, Riverview.
Those sort of
Kings,
GPS schools. It is. You play on the weekend. There's only 9 games in the year, and the whole school's there plus their whole school. So there could be like 3,000, 4,000 people, which at a school field, that's quite a lot. Yeah. They're chanting. It's an awesome experience. I see a lot of the boys transfer over to league more than anything. Yeah. I'm not too sure if that's rugby league talking or. Rugby union not doing its purpose or job. I know definitely for me, I wanted to go down the rugby union path, but
you did.
I really enjoyed union. Obviously, I was doing well, so that was probably why. But there's just no real pathway. I feel I don't know what it's like now. But
it's changed several times, Kalyn, and us. Being rugby league people, would be extremely arrogant of us to rest on our laurels, thinking that it wouldn't happen again. I mean, rugby league for 100 years had the whip hand on rugby union. In 95, rugby union becomes professional. Suddenly it's got all this money, starts pinching rugby league players, and all the best league kids are going to union schools. Now it's swung again.
It's definitely the opposite.
Yeah, so it's
and they all go to the Roosters, which is weird.
Which is weird because they haven't got money, have they?
No, they haven't.
But a young player who just signed at Manly, actually, Joey Walsh. I went to school with his brother. Now he was like a hot prospect coming through for rugby union. Similar thing to UK, like the lack of there actually being a program for a kid to go. I actually can't see where I'm about to. Like I can't see the clear path to get into that first grade system. Like, and he was asking me, a lot of NRL clubs would come and bumping me, and like, what do you think about this? And I was like, you can always go into a league system, try to break into first grade, and then kind of go back to union. It's very hard for a kid in the pathway try to make it in rugby union and then try to swing across to league, because it hasn't got it hasn't got the same esteem at the moment. Like,
the very best, some of the greatest All Blacks players. Jonah Lamy was a league player coming through Wellington around Wainui. I played with Tanu Mugga. I played with him at the Knights, and then he went home being homesick. He wasn't a union player. I asked him, I said, how do you get in the union? He said, I just went back once and our game was called off, and my mates who played union said, you want to have a game? And he said, scored 4 tries, ended up in the junior All Blacks. Yeah. So you're right, Coops.
I wonder how league's going over there in New Zealand. It felt like that last year when they put 30 on us in the final. It felt like that for sure. And I wonder how it's going, like in terms of juniors, because all the union school, like all the schools over there are union. Majority of them are. And
they've been very clever, the All Blacks. What really put a dent in their junior stocks, the All Blacks, was when the Holden Cup come in. And suddenly, because Holden Cup was on television, mate, they had all the best young junior Kiwis banging on their door, the Warriors, saying, we want to play rugby league, so I want to be on TV. Hence the reason why in that 20s comp for so long, the Warriors were just dominant, unbeatable. Like Conrad Hurrell. Something like 30 tackle busts a game.
Yeah. Mason Lino.
Just bigger than everyone.
Huge.
And at that in 20s, that's all.
So, like, Kalyn, you played Australian schoolboys at 14.
For 15.
For 15. Yeah. So you're one of the only 2 people that ever done that. Yeah.
Really?
Forget about that.
Yeah.
It's too many achievements.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forget I did that. Yeah, that was...
What other...
Well, you don't really, like, if someone asks you...
Yeah,
Well, that's the same to me. People say, how many logos you win? I don't know. I lost count at 9.
What about the other sports? Because you just said you want to play rugby union, you're killing it there, league. Golf?
Golf?
You love your golf still, but
Still love my golf.
how serious was the golf dream as a kid?
It was probably from 10 till 13, 14. So young, very young. It was a massive passion of mine. I learnt a lot of lessons from golf. I think that was its main tool. At the time it wasn't, but now I look back and it definitely was. But when you move to Mackay, you can't really play golf. Like you play rugby league. Everyone plays rugby league. Like it's almost like a culture in small towns in Queensland. So the golf got pushed to the side, and I picked up a footy.
But mate, Brisbane Lions, you're in their academy for a stint in the AFL, the Brisbane Lions. You're in the Broncos system too, Kalyn. So you've been involved in a lot of sport in different places. I suppose when I ask you is, at 15 years of age, as said, the Brisbane Lions want you, the Queensland Reds want you, the Broncos want you, the Storm wants you, and the Roosters want you, right? And the Storm and the Roosters, usually they don't miss out on their man, but you go to the Cowboys. Firstly, did you meet with the Storm and the Roosters?
15, I think I did with the Roosters.
Yeah.
Not the Storm.
Yeah, right.
No.
Why the Cowboys?
Had a good connection with Virus.
Oh, yep, the footy
manager.
manager.
He was going to be my manager.
Wow.
I met him when I was like 14, maybe.
Yeah, right.
I just wanted something different, a change. Go up there and be in that system. It was also close. Like, we're from Mackay, so we had family in Townsville as well. So it wasn't a hard move or anything.
It was a club on the up and up too. There was.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I was pretty naive and I wasn't out of touch, but I didn't realize, where the Cows were at that point. But definitely went up there at a lucky time or a good time to be a junior, learning off the players that I did. But I spent 3 years up there, I think.
Yeah.
Just finished school up there, made some good friends. Had a really good time.
Some of your mates there, like your best mate Bailey now, who lives with you, you met him up there at school?
Met him at school.
And then some of the other...
Some of the guys in that 20 side. Who was
Brandon Smith?
Brandon Smith, Colin Hess.
Villiamy kicker?
Kick out, yeah.
Jeez.
Mate, it was almost... Kicks was unstoppable. Like, in 20s, it was... Let's go left post for a kick, so let's just give it to Kicks. Yeah. And he played centre for us a couple of games. He'd play back row, front row. Like, he was unstoppable.
Gideon Mosby as well, was he? Who was...
Yeah, good play.
Yeah,
a bit like the Hammer, wasn't he? He moved a bit like...
Mate, he was unbelievable. He was that quick.
He was in 20s, and then he kind of like cracked it, but he just couldn't quite crack it.
So I understand, like, it's very easy to say, why did they let him go? Because they had a great crop of players established and proven that they're going to win a comp, just after. But, you make you wonder, how do you lose...
Jerome Hughes was there when I was there.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
Jerome,
Villiamy Kickout, Brandon.
Now look at Hughesy. That's crazy.
It's Hughesy's story is insane, where he played one game at Titans, they let him go, plays one game at Cows, they let him go, and now he's like...
Because it was like me, him, and Lachlan Coote, and so they had us sitting there. Well, Cootie was obviously playing, but they had Romy and I sitting there, and I remember just being like, well, I'm going to go. Yeah, right. And I think he had decided to leave. And then, I don't know, he played fullback after Cootie.
That debut in 2016, on the wing in a finals match, again, I think you only one of 2 or 3 people ever to make your debut in a finals match, up against the Broncos. You're a naturally confident bloke, but it's a big occasion against the Cowboys versus Broncos is massive at any time. But to play them in a finals game, and particularly your first touch, I think you beat everyone in the side
down the side
3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Did he get called back for an obstruction or something as well?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I had tunnel vision of doom. Like, I do remember. Like, I couldn't see anyone, but I think it was Darius in front of me. That's all I remember. It kind of went blurry for a little bit there for that little period, but it was an awesome achievement. It was obviously it's awesome.
What was it like playing with Jonathan Thurston? Like, was he sort of a hero growing up in Queensland for you? Like, did you really idolise him at all, or was it because your personality is very much, you're very casual as a bloke?
I am casual.
Gets
Gets me in trouble a little bit.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah. Anyway, I began to appreciate him more once I saw how he trains, how he works, how hard he plays. He's got no excuses. I think in that my debut, I was on his wing, and he was kind of sick for that game. Like he was crook, but like he just like how hard he works. I think he pushed me in. He went to the wing a few times, pushed me in, and it was like 4th or 5th, and I'm like thinking in my head, I got to go back here. Like, are you going to go back, or do you want me to just? Like,
is it me or you?
Like, yeah, like I know you're tired. Like, what do you want me to do? No, but I idolize how hard he works, and I think that just seeing that, like him, Michael Morgan, Matt Scott, Lockie Coote, Gavin Cooper, all these great players I got to look up to and spend 2 pre-seasons or 3 pre-seasons with them and seeing how they work. That was the big one for me.
I mean, that's the thing about for a long time, North Queensland, Kalyn, when they first came to the competition in 1995, it took them a long, long time to really fulfil their potential because, that they never really understood that the conditions were their 14th man. And it wasn't until Billy Johnston went up there and said, listen, guys, we ain't training, air-conditioned gym, and we're gonna train hard in the hottest part of the day. We're going to make it that every time the opposition side comes up here, they can't beat us. So that was what was it like training up there?
It's different.
Yeah,
it's almost now as a competitor, like they do get the upper hand. You
Yeah.
know? But they're on the field I'm pretty sure that they start at like 7 a.m, off the field by 9. Like they definitely do accommodate for it, but
Yeah.
they're not putting aircon in the gyms and whatnot. But
yeah.
it was tough. Like the pre-seasons were tough. I don't know if it's just because I was young and having KFC on Wednesdays still, like those sort of things. Like
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
you do as a young fella. Yeah, Wednesday used to be our biggest session. It was like a wrestle session, and then afterwards, a couple of us would go and get KFC after. But then, like on the Friday, I wouldn't be able to. I would finish the session, but I'd be missing my times. Looking back, that's obviously why,
Yeah, it's the Colonel.
Yeah.
Blame the Colonel.
But at the time, I didn't know why. But yeah, the heats it plays a big part. You go up there now and play. You're like,
They were very clever in the early days, Kalyn, when you went up there because you'd walk in. First time I played up there, you walk into the ground and you go, okay, well, it's warm, but it's not too bad. And you'd walk into the dressing room and they'd have the air conditioning.
yeah, that's what they do now.
Yeah.
And you just go,
They do
oh,
that.
wow, this is okay.
How good are they?
Oh, mate. And you walk out, you do the warm-up, and you go, oh,
The
man.
humidity hits you. Righto, 2017, you signed with the Knights while you're still at the Cows. First of all, why the Knights? And second of all, were the Cows, because rugby league can be quite a petty game sometimes when somebody makes a decision to do what's best for them. How was the relationship with the Cowboys after that decision?
It wasn't great.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. I remember. Yeah, it wasn't great. I decided to go because I actually was over the game at this point. I think I was 18 when I signed, and I wanted to be. I debuted in 2017. 2016.
Oh, look at this.
Debuted 2016.
I'm not a stalker, seriously.
2016, and I think I played 6 games that next year, and I wanted to play Cup, but they didn't want me to play Cup. I don't know if it was because they didn't think I was ready or for what reason, but so I was pretty over it. So I was like, oh, well, I might go to AFL, and this is when I was really considering going to AFL.
So that Brisbane Lions again? Because they had a second crack at you, off your 4-year deal. Huh?
Yeah, I think it was 5.
5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was pretty committed just because at this point I was like, I'm over rugby league. I want to go challenge myself somewhere else, and I back myself to if I put the work in, I'll do something. I'm not going to, but so I was sort of over it, and then met with the Knights. Just went down there. They rolled the red carpet out. Met Bedsy. He took us around, played golf, and just sort of thought like, there's a challenge in this in itself. So, why not?
Yeah. What did you see the challenge? Did you like the idea of such a young kid as a teenager having, I guess, the weight of the team on your shoulders? Did you like that pressure? Because a lot of young blokes don't like that pressure, but did you like that?
I think I was a bit naive and not arrogant, but I didn't want to sit behind someone and learn.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I learn best when I'm out there doing it, and then I can sort of afterwards I can look back and be like, oh, I didn't do that well, instead of watching someone do it and then me. I'm not very good at learning that way, so I was like, I'm going to go down there. I want to play every game. That's my goal, is to play every game next year, and I didn't think I was going to have the year that I had. I don't think anyone could really predict that I was going to do what I did, but I just went down there and I didn't feel like I had any expectations. I kind of just played freely. Definitely lived the lifestyle of a 20-year-old that was a 20-year-old. In terms of diet, partying, all those sort of things, I was definitely not where I needed to be. But yeah, it was an awesome year for me.
Kalyn, it's a tough town, Newcastle. You know, it's steel workers, coal miners, people who are brickies. Very much a blue collar town. Now you sign on. I think Ben Kennedy was a big signing that came to the club, but I think you're the biggest signing at the time, and you're the highest paid teenager in rugby league history. How, when you first went into the town, what was the reaction from people within the town? Did they embrace you immediately, or how was it?
I think they did. I felt like they did. And then probably end of 2019, I felt like there was maybe a shift. Right. And then maybe for a couple of years there, I don't know if it might not have been me or the team probably wasn't performing the way it should have been. And obviously the town wants success, and I think the town's hungry and starving for it. And then it wasn't probably until last year where I felt like they had their arms around us again. But it is part of it. We need to perform, and we want to do that for the town. But I feel like at the start it was sunshine and roses, and then a few scars and a few things happened. But I think we're back now.
Cal, on your debut that night against Manly at home, I was in the crowd watching it with Chief and Spud and Fletch. I've rarely felt an excitement just rippling through the crowd, people anticipating and waiting for you to come out. Big crowd. On top of that, it's against Manly. I remember your first two touches of the football. They put a bomb up, catch the ball as a bomb. You beat two blokes and go through, and the excitement raised. And then about a minute after, you score a try, skipping past that left side. It's a pretty decent way to start your nice career.
Yeah, I think me being like this, sort of laid back, carefree sort of person, those sort of things, it just goes over my head,
Gotcha.
Which plays into my hands in a way.
Yeah.
I don't even really think about all that sort of stuff, and maybe at the time I might have, I would have felt the excitement, but those big occasions, it's just exciting. I'm not scared or anything of them.
Well, you said just something interesting before when you got that ball, that first touch against the Broncos, in the fact that you said, it was a blur. I think a lot of young players can anticipate sometimes when you do something good, it just happens, not through planning. And that was undoubtedly with you, and probably your expectations, where most people would go, oh, wow, that was phenomenal. You've been doing that all along. That's what you're used to. Winning that game, I was in Golden Point too. Yeah, Mitchell Pearce's debut. That really was a great night.
Yeah, I think it was Pearcey's first ever field goal too. I'm pretty sure it was.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they'd hammered him his whole Roosters career because he'd never iced a field a Golden Point moment, and then his first game he goes and drills it. He is one of the great blokes, Piercy.
He is one of the... He is a great bloke. He is. Yeah. He was. To have him for the first, 3 years, 4 years, he's we all know what he's like. He's a different cat. But for me, honestly, in terms of footy, once you step over that line, his willingness to give and teach and bring up younger people, You know, he obviously trains hard. I don't know how he comes back to preseason and still like wins things. That he did every year.
Well, obviously he squares the ledger. He has a good time, but he trains hard.
Ultimate competitor, I reckon. Like, put everything else aside, he was a competitor.
And the move to France has been so good for him, because I saw him when he got back with his new partner, and he just looked
happy.
He looked happy.
Love wins.
Yeah, he looked.
Love wins again.
I tell you, he looked happy. He looked far less scattergun. He was like really, chatting.
Maybe you need to go to France.
yeah.
Can't, mate.
But what was interesting on the
Couldn't
night?
take a pay cut to go
because
there.
he was taken out of. Well, there's an old saying that environment is stronger than will, and a lot of times, for all Mitchell's good intentions, the environment that he was in out here obviously would take him to certain places. Being over there, out of that environment, and with his new partner, and she's French, it was her. I saw her the first time she went to a game. It was at a Roosters game, and she was blown away. Like, people were coming up left, right, and centre, and you could see her going, like, my God, like for him, he just Mitchell. For her, for her, it was a real shock.
That's good.
It is good.
That's pretty hectic.
Yeah.
Hey, you just spoke. I want to go back for 1 sec. You just spoke about how your nature, how you don't really get fazed by anything, and you said earlier sometimes it gets you in trouble. Do you find? Well, I suppose not now, because everybody at the Knights would know what you're like. They understand it's just Kalyn. Like those of your mates who text you and you don't get back to them for weeks on end. It's not. Everybody understands he's one of the worst person on his phone ever.
It's not personal.
It's not personal. It is just Kalyn. Did you find coming through, like when you were younger, did coaches or other older people, did they take that as you just don't care?
Yeah, 100%. I actually had a coach. Might have been 2 years ago at the Knights, 3 years ago. A kicking coach. He said, "Oh, I just thought you didn't care. Like, just the way that I am. I don't know what It's like, I think a lot of people in this game, they worry about things, and I just don't worry. Like I don't worry about anything. Like, I'm not really someone to worry about, some certain things. I do care. I definitely care a lot about a lot of things in terms of like the sport, myself, the team, but I don't worry about things.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's probably where people maybe get a little bit mixed up. But definitely, like, I mean, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the game was saying that I'm not interested in that. I don't love it, and he wants to go elsewhere and all these sort of things. Like, it does definitely. It gets me in trouble. But I don't have to justify anything to anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I know that if within myself, I know I do everything right to perform on the weekend in terms of preparation and all those sort of things. I train hard, so it took me a little while to learn all that. Like, when I was with Jack in 20 and 21, 22, you're a kid. Like, I was a kid that was playing really good footy. And I think it probably caught up on me a little bit. But, I think people just worry. I don't really worry about things.
Yeah.
Well, I saw you this year. I reckon, Kalyn, at the back end of the season just passed, I think you probably conquered for you what was the most difficult thing, and that is being the leader that everyone looks to. Like, I saw a shift in you right at the back end of last season. Just the way you addressed the team, the way the players looked to you, the responsibility that you took on. I could see the disappointment at times. I thought that your leadership really came to the fore at the back end.
I look up to Frizz a lot in that sense. I think Tyson, he's not someone that talks a lot, but he leads by his actions. Leadership's still something that I'm learning. Probably not actively. Like, I'm not probably doing as much as I should in terms of learning it, but in terms of being around the group and understanding what we need, I think this year I did probably grow in that area. Especially at the back end of the season, I thought we were in a really good stead. I mean, we'd like to be, in the 8 and then pushing up. You want to be higher up the ladder, but in terms of a team, we knew what we were doing.
State of Origin, 2018 State of Origin debut, along with Cameron Munster, close to the best Origin debut. Certainly, like, a lot of people have come out and said that they've seen. Mate, played in the middle for 52 minutes, 29 tackles and a key line break.
No, definitely couldn't do it.
I don't know how I did it. I try to do it.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline, being naive, not knowing what was ahead of me, I think.
Was the game a blur?
Yeah. I watch, leading into game 3 this year, I watched like my tackle technique from that game, just to sort of, like, I sat down with one of the coaches. I was like, oh, that was pretty good.
Put a shot on turbo.
That was me. And I don't know. I was just a kid, a kid that was out there with a ton of adrenaline. I definitely couldn't. I don't reckon I could do that now. Not for as long as I did.
You might surprise yourself, Kalyn.
Yeah, the 14. I don't know what number I was wearing, but it was a blur, to be honest.
It's playing 2022, playing game 3 under Slater. So you're a great fullback playing underneath another great fullback. What did Billy blow you away as far as leading into the game?
Yeah, he's a pretty awesome coach. He's an awesome person to start with, and I think that rubs off on how he coaches. His care, his knowledge, his understanding of the group. In terms of his coaching, for me, leading into the game, just fills you with so much confidence. And you can't change much in a 10-day camp or a week camp. So, like, he just really puts emphasis on just go out there and do, like, what you do best. He obviously gives you, in terms of fullback position, he gives you tips, and I'll still carry them with me now. Things that if I hadn't spoken to him, I wouldn't know. So I'm lucky in that sense. But in terms of, like, the mental side of it, he just fills you with confidence. Gets the best out of you.
I hope you don't mind me bringing this up. I mean, we can always take it out, but we can take anything you want out.
What a way to preface
here
something.
We go.
It's like, holy shit.
I know.
I can actually feel your asshole tightening.
There's one thing. Anyway, you go.
No, I'm not bringing that up. After that 2022 year, and we're going to talk about a little bit of the 2023 season, the Headknocks stuff, but yeah, you remember that?
Good fun.
I was done. I was gone.
But after that 2022 series where you're cemented as that fullback, you get man of the match. I remember Jack and I were at dinner with you in Newcastle the following series when you're waiting for the, I don't know if you remember, you're waiting for the call
we're
from...
the, cook it yourself, what do they call it?
Yeah, that steak.
Korean barbecue places.
I never understand why you go to those places. You cook your own meat.
Yeah.
Honestly, just sit at home.
Yeah. But we were waiting for you to get the call from Slatsy on whether you were going to, because all the thing was, Kalyn's missed the last chunk of the first start of the year, but he was how instrumental he was the year before. They're going to pick and stick, and you got the call, and when you came back, we could see how much that Queensland jersey meant to you, and you not getting picked for that series, how much it really meant to you. I suppose what I want to ask is, because we spoke about your Māori heritage at the start, how much does playing for Queensland mean to you?
Yeah, I think my earliest memory of rugby league is sitting in my uncle's shed when I was I would have been maybe 5, 6, watching Origin, my dad having a Queensland jersey on, and my uncle having a New South Wales jersey on. That's my earliest memory. I remember a screen, and that's all I remember. And then moving over to Australia when I was 13, 14, living in Mackay, it's all Queensland. So when I think about rugby league, I think about the Queensland jersey and Origin and how big it is, and then now to play in it and understand the feeling, the emotions, and everything that goes into it. It's a crazy. I don't think you can, winning that game 3 at Suncorp. I don't think I hope I get to win a premiership, and that might replace that feeling. But I don't think there's any bigger high or for me. So I know what that feeling's like. I know as a competitor how much I enjoy being in that arena. So I was pretty gutted. Yeah, I was pretty gutted. When I think about all of that, I understood his decision. I back Billy. I back Queensland, and I always back and support them.
The connection between the Queensland fans and the team is just remarkable.
Is it different?
Kalyn,
they don't really get it. I don't think they get Origin up there.
I tell you what, it just takes for us. It's not. I think oftentimes, Kalyn, with New South Wales, we're at the mercy of the next coach that comes along. a little bit, if that makes sense, who like Madge was unbelievable because Madge identified straight away, I've got to get these players just in love with this jersey and pull them all together to do this, and do a Queensland on Queensland. And I was at luncheon recently. He got up and did a presentation on what he did to get the players going. It was outstanding.
Any Queenslanders in there?
How was there any No, there wasn't. We wouldn't let them in.
There probably wouldn't have been. Hey?
No, there wasn't. But it was outstanding. But after that going through and just won, I believe, did you guys leave your gear on and go and have a beer at the Caxton? Was that
did we leave our gear on?
I heard you just run up to the Caxton.
Oh, sorry, game 3. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. By the time we got there, it was like they had shut it off. There was a few like supporters still around, but yeah, we kept our gear on. That's what I mean. Like those sort of things is pretty awesome. That memory, like that game, that series, like I want that. I definitely want that feeling.
Kalyn, 2023, I mean, talk about a bipolar season. Early on in that season, suffering firstly the Headknocks, and I can only imagine, Kalyn, I spoke to Boyd Cordner about this a couple of years ago, and he said to me when he went through that, he said the worst thing was that every single person that he walked past in the street had something to say about it. Was that the same with you?
100%. Like, when was that? 2 years ago? Last year. Beginning of last year. Yeah, crazy. Everyone, like, people were saying that I need to retire. Like, if you look at what I've done now, and I'm not saying I've done a lot, but, like, from needing to retire, which is literally hanging the boots up, to the way I've sort of gone about my footy over the last year and a half. I mean, it's pretty crazy what's happened.
Well, that's, again, people are saying, he's one more head knock and his career's over. Mate, suddenly you come back and go on one of the greatest runs I've seen. The team, you take the team from 14th to 5th, you win the Dahlia medal. Like, that's certainly a good way to salvage a season.
Yeah, that's definitely the polar opposite from people saying you need to retire to then 6 months later.
That's why I prefaced my comments by saying, what a bipolar season.
I know, and that's why I reinforced what you were saying.
Thank you.
It was. The best thing for me was going to Canada. And I remember a couple of days, I was only over there for 6 or 7 days, but for a couple of them, I just walked the streets of Canada. And to be in a whole different country, walk past people, and know that they don't know who I am.
To let people know you went over there for the concussion test.
Yeah, for the concussion test.
Yeah, right.
Also, that was also another good reason. Like,
was that in Vancouver?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty. Didn't get to enjoy Vancouver, but from what I hear, it's a great spot. But yeah, just walk the streets, and in terms of getting away from media in Australia, that was perfect. Kind of freshened me up to come back.
What do they do with the testing? How do they test?
It's you wear like a swimming cap thing.
Oh, I wear that for my conspiracy theories.
You wear a swimming cap, and it tests. It has like 3 tests: cognitive thinking, how well you hear and process what you hear, or something like that. Something like that. And there's another one that tests for. Is that a coffee?
Yeah, what was that?
That's just dinging, mate.
Keep your ring.
Look, Kalyn, when you're an important man, mate. Yeah. So they. Yeah. And what did he say to you after that?
Their theory is you can train the brain. So, depending on what my results were, you can train it, and they have different, activities, both like. Physical and I guess more mental, like actually training the brain. But in terms of for me, it was my brain was in good nick. Yeah. There was nothing wrong with it.
Just the last thing I'll ask you about the Headknocks. I just want to know what you were going through, Kalyn. Talking to both Luke Keary and Boyd Cordner, they said another thing that was Boyd particularly said that was really bad is everyone kept saying one more head knocked and one more head, and he said he'd play a game. And he'd get there and he'd sort of come through and go, oh, no, I think I've just been knocked out.
Well, I think I got back from Canada and I still tried to play 6 again. And I'm not a great 6. You know what I mean? So
not yet. You will be.
Not yet. I won't be because I want to stay at 1. But
yeah,
I went back into the front line and kind of just forgot about what I had just gone through. All right, let's forget it. Let's just move on. And I think I was a little bit timid for a couple games there, 2 or 3 games. I'm trying to learn a position.
Yep.
And then I'm also trying to get over what I've been through. So
Yep.
for me to go back to fullback and just play my game was probably the best.
Well, everyone always cites Darren Lockyer as the perfect example of a guy who was at fullback and then transitions into 6 and does it seamlessly. He didn't do it seamless. In fact, the first 12 months he really struggled with it. It wasn't until, I reckon, with Lockie that he learnt to slow down, and that'll help with his straighten, because he was always, like playing football, trying to skim on the outside. So it does it takes time.
Yeah.
You know?
I get like 3 or 4 games every time I try. So
Yeah.
I probably need more than that.
Yeah. Well, I think that the Headknocks had a massive reason to do with it. Like, you could have been at fullback and had just as many Headknocks in that. It could have just been the period of that year, and we could have been saying we get him to 6. You know what I mean?
That amazing run you had, Kalyn. When you sit, I think sometimes for players, the most beneficial thing they can have sometimes is being forced to sit in the stands and watch the game and sit on tape and watch their own game. Like, did you learn a lot about your own game in that time out?
I hope this doesn't sound bad, but
No.
it's not so much on the field. It's more like off the field for me, what I do, you know? And like, I think I come back from Canada and just was like so appreciative of, you know, being able to play and being grateful to play, and just I found routine that year as well, which I hadn't really had. I probably was a little bit more professional. Like
An
the actual
example?
game, like my mentality going into games now, I think I have a good hold on. I'm still learning the game, definitely. I know what parts of my game I want to get better at.
Yep.
But for me that year or last year and then back end of this year, it's all about how I mentally prepare for games.
Okay, preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Do you think you being happy when you're at your happiest off field, and you know you practice gratitude a fair bit? You spoke about that a lot in the past, but is that when you play your best footy?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely I write things that I need to do throughout the week, tick them off. When I get to the game day, I've done the work. Just go out there and play.
Now, flash forward to the end of the year. We spoke about you winning the Dally M. It was a huge thing. Your form for Newey, getting them from, I think it was 14th or 15th into the top 8.
So is there an echo in this thing? It's
But
unbelievable.
I wanted-
14th
It's almost
to
like
5th.
he's your son.
Yeah.
It's
Believe that. The DNA is a powerful thing, guys.
it's weird.
But I want to ask you, after all of that, after the story I told a bit earlier where, you know, Billy rings you and you lose your Queensland jersey, how proud of yourself, even now looking back, like how proud of yourself for overcoming that and then turning that year around?
I'm pretty proud. Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, definitely. I'm pretty proud. Nah, it's just like, I think even when I'm in my, like, not dark moments, but when I'm in downs, I believe that like, it's always going to balance itself out. Like I'm always going to come through it. As down I'm going to be, I'm going to come through it. I don't know where that comes from or how it comes from or how I've got that mindset. But it was a down. I was like, I didn't make the team. I was concussed and almost out. But like, I just have this belief in myself that I don't know, I can perform.
It's
at a
interesting
high
because
level.
like to have that quality, K, like the amount of players in the NRL that all of that could happen to, and then, you know, they could just go pack up or they get sacked, they go to the Super League. Like the amount of players that has happened to in the creation of rugby league, like there's not many who are resilient enough. And like you say, your personality probably helps you in that sense where you don't really get phased, who can bounce back from adversity so quick.
Well, I think sometimes, I say this to young players sometimes, I said, you've got to care, but it's really important you've got to let go. Like one of the things that really got to me and took me a long time to understand, we'd lose, and you can ask Trish about this, I'd basically lock myself in the room for 3 days and not come out. And like I'd cry after games, be so embarrassed, so upset. And I realise now that really wore me down where I've looked at other blokes who were my teammates and opposition guys I played against, like a Stephen Menzies. And Beaver was renowned for just going, oh. And, mate, end up playing all up almost 500 games when you combine the NRL and the Super League. Kalyn, I want to ask you something here, right? And I think this is really, really, really important, particularly for young people who are listening to this and see you as completely invincible and someone that would never basically have terse words said against them. I want to talk about social media. And we've got this terrible thing at the moment, this pandemic of young people, young men and women who are doing self-harm from what they're copying online. Kalyn Ponga, just, a hero, incredibly talented, Dalian medal, state of origins. Do you still cop shit online from idiots?
Definitely. And I've got I definitely do. It's a scary space, that social media. I've had to go through it in terms of learning how to control it or process it. My mum's had to learn how to do it. My dad, my little sister who's 13, she sees things. It's a hard one. You do have to, I guess, train yourself. I've honestly trained myself not to read things, and I understand that they're not going to help me. In terms of where my energy and what I care about, those comments aren't going to help me on the weekend. I'm even mindful the night before a game about what I watch on TikTok or stuff like that. I don't want to watch anything that has to do with footy because it's just going to block my mentals. So it is a scary thing. My sister's 13. She's on my Instagram, TikTok, and all these things. It's tough. It's hard for me to just say that you need to train yourself not to read them, because some people it's harder said than done.
Well, culturally, people of my generation over 50, you have a beer at the pub and go, oh, these kids just turn it off. But it is absolutely a part of your culture now. For a lot of people, it's a vital part of what they do. So Kalyn, what are the tools that you taught yourself that if you are going to see something and it pops up, how do you deal with that, process it?
Nathan Brown actually gave me a good tip, and it was the back end of when he was kind of getting let go, or he left from the club, and I was going through a little bit. I was under fire for the milkshake thing that I said. Do you remember that?
Yeah, strawberry milkshake.
Yeah. Where were you? Someone asked me, where were you when you heard the news? Me being me, I was like, I think I was just at the cafe, just enjoying a strawberry milkshake.
Again, too honest.
Did you get hammered for that?
I was like, so people was trying to say that I'm a sport little brat. What for? I didn't mean that to be. And this was, so during that time anyway, and Nathan Brown was like, if you're going to accept the good, then you have to accept the bad. So just don't accept either.
Yeah. So
just don't read either. Don't go looking for it. And it's easy. I still honestly find myself sometimes after a good game or whatnot, I might go looking for it, but is that really going to help me? Is that going to help me the next day or 2 days later? So I honestly have just trained myself not to read the bad comments, and my mum it would affect her a lot because people were saying, harsh things about me, and not me as a player, but me as in my character.
Yeah.
My sister, but yeah, it's I honestly just, and it is tempting, everyone does it. If I see an article and it's got my name on it and the view comments is there, I know, I just catch myself, just don't do it. It's not worth it. Yeah.
It's funny. Because obviously when I was playing, I used to cop it quite significantly.
Yeah, I was the one giving it to you.
No.
My fake account.
It's funny. Yeah, thanks, Kalyn. That was your burner account.
That was my burner account.
But it's funny. I used to find, it used to affect me quite a bit when I was young, but I used to find I'd almost try to make myself numb to it by reading it all. And now I'm at a point where, and I still cop so much shit. Obviously I copped it being the son and nephew of Matthew and Andrew.
Don't need to say nephew, just the son.
Well, they know some people don't know Matthew, they know Joey. But I found leaning into it.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of making a joke of it and just kind of making myself emotionally numb to just copying shit or death threats or whatever it was, and it just.
Well, I think people get affected. Sometimes you need to understand who's doing this shit. Who would do that and say that to a person? It's a special kind of arsehole. And I remember once, I've never social media. Trish does my
She's giving it to
He
him.
is on TikTok
Yeah,
now, though.
it just ended up on my phone.
Trish
I
is the one
just
commenting.
Yeah, she
I
hammers me.
said to Trish, I said, you know what you should call TikTok? It should be middle-aged women dancing. She goes, you know they pick up on the algorithms.
Yeah,
You've been
yeah,
watching
yeah,
that. I was like,
His
guilty,
TikTok's filled of like chicks dancing.
guilty as charged. I just like the way they dance.
And he thought that was everyone's, isn't it?
So, but like, I remember once at one point, a guy got contact with me and said, you know, there's a guy out there giving you death threats. And I'm like, nah. He's like, yeah, he's telling people that when he sees you, he's going to run you over in a car. And I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, I'm with I go to a game to commentate, and a bloke comes up and says, do you know that stuff about the death threats? That's him over there. And I looked over at him, and honestly, the poor bastard was so pathetic. And I just went, oh, and I went up there and I put my arm around him, and he was like, oh, straight away. I didn't have to say anything. He just goes, oh, I'm so sorry. It's so easy. My advice to people is so easy to picture the people who send these things at. It's these big, strong people when really, honestly, they are pathetic.
yeah. Anyway,
100%.
Anyway,
Kalyn,
One death threat.
thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on. He's actually going to come watch me and Jack play Oztag
I am.
now.
I am.
I'm actually. Oh,
Are you playing? Are you?
Kalyn,
When's
here's the thing. 10 tests for Australia, 4 state of origin. Didn't win any, but that's not important. Competition, 200 games here and abroad. They won't let me play. They're like, oh, Dad, you
Wow.
won't handle it. I'll move too fast. I said, son, when you know the nuances of the greatest game of all, you don't need to move fast.
Yeah, but I don't think
That's
you
Corey
realise.
Norman. That's what Corey Norman used to say. It's up here, Brad.
Yeah.
So
Muscle memory, dude.
it's up here, Brad.
And how's Normie going now? Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Kalyn.
say
Good
thank
on
you.
you, man.